If you have to make the same resolutions every year, is that system really working for you? Hi ladies, welcome back to the feminine universe. I am so happy to have you here. I think we can all agree that there is nothing like turning to a clean page, starting a fresh chapter, and getting a new beginning. It makes you forget about the past and feel like anything is possible. To begin with, I want to make it clear that I am not opposed to resolutions in any way. In fact, I shared a few great ones in my very first video that I still stand by. But seeing as most of us have made resolutions at some point, I wanted us to take it to the next level and add reinvention to the mix. I see reinvention as a way to combine the concept of setting goals with actually transforming as a person, and that combination makes the goals and changes much more sustainable. I've also come to favor reinvention because it's not a concept that's so tied to one specific part of the year. You can choose to reinvent yourself at any stage and any age. You can also decide to reinvent yourself at any day or time that you are listening to this. So with that, I want to share with you my top 10 tips for realistic life transformation and reinvention. Let's get started. Reinvention tip number 1 is to have a vision. What's your 5-year plan has become a bit of a punchline. Some people will laugh or roll their eyes when asked about this outside of a work context. But one of the biggest reasons a lot of people haven't gotten where they want to be is because they haven't decided where they want to go. If you head outside with no destination, how do you know where to turn? How do you know what train to catch? It is hard to get on the right path without a destination. To pinpoint your personal destination and create your very own vision, tap into your imagination and allow yourself to fully dream and fantasize about who you want to be. If nothing and no one held you back, what would your days look like? What would your schedule be? Where would you spend your time? Who would you spend it with? What are the things you would be known for? As you're forming your vision, don't just focus on the goals you want to achieve, but the person you want to become. Whether you're a vision board person, a list-making person, or a scrapbooking person, be sure you're starting off with a clear vision of what you want in all the different areas of your life. Because the first step of reinvention is having a clear vision of where you want to go and, more importantly, who you want to be. Reinvention tip number 2 is to adopt new behaviors. They say to get something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. And one thing that has been done to death is making vague, one-dimensional resolutions like lose weight, eat healthier, stop smoking, stop swearing, and so on. Sometimes we focus so much on what it is we want to stop doing. But if we don't consciously fill that time with something new, with new behaviors, we just end up sitting there trying not to relapse into our old ways. If you want to eat better, but you don't meal prep, what do you think is going to happen when you're hungry and nothing is ready? Exactly. So instead of just making a vague statement of wanting to eat healthier, adopt the new behavior of grocery shopping weekly and meal prepping 1 to 3 times a week. I'll put up a few common resolutions we tend to make and new behaviors or behavior swaps that we can assign ourselves that will allow for actual reinvention. Reinvention tip number 3 is to be honest with yourself. While we've touched on having a vision, this tip here is more so about being really real with yourself about where you currently are and what you actually want. You want to make sure you are properly assessing and analyzing your life. Don't run yourself into the ground making all these moves and goals, trying to be a corporate boss babe if you really want to be a stay-at-home wife and mother. Being a homemaker is a whole job. I've seen too many women in the bathrooms of their office buildings literally crying about how much they don't want to be there but feel like they have to be for whatever reason. Also, not everyone wants to own a company and wear all the hats. Some people just want somewhere they can check in, do the best they can during that workday, and check out when the day is over, not checking emails after hours or putting out fires later on or answering calls in the middle of the night. And that's okay. Some people want their vacation days and PTO and very structured lifestyle, and that's okay. And on the flip side, if being that boss and building that empire is your dream and that's your focus right now, don't be guilted or rushed into marriage and a family until you're ready, assuming you want that, so you don't come to resent them as the thing that kept you from achieving your greatness. And of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting something in the middle of all of these either. Just be real with yourself. Do you really feel Yas Queen flawless? Or could you afford to put in a little extra effort in certain areas? Are all men really trash? Or have you been choosing bad men? Is your life actually lame? Or do you spend too much time scrolling through fake or very heavily curated feeds? When you can be honest with yourself for the good things and the bad things, not only does that allow you to work towards what you actually want and block out all the noise, but it also allows you to develop self-trust because you're not constantly living in a state of delusion or denial. I think a big reason a lot of women's intuition is a little off or even completely broken is because we're not totally honest with ourselves. We can't trust ourselves if we're constantly lying to ourselves. But that's a whole other video. Just be honest with yourself about what your actual problems are and what you actually want. Reinvention tip number 4 is to plan and schedule. You ladies know I always say have a plan. I tell you one of the most feminine things you can ever do for yourself is to be prepared. So then you're not out here frazzled or being forced to constantly make split-second, last-minute decisions that you end up unhappy with. Plan your days, your workouts, your outfits, your meals, your social interactions, even your phone calls. You'd be surprised how quickly a day, a week, or even a year can slip away from you. That's how we find ourselves wondering where a day went or where the year went. So reinvent yourself as someone who plans. Instead of saying something like, I should catch up with so-and-so, take out your planner or your phone if you prefer and jot down, call so-and-so Tuesday at 7 p.m. Look into time blocking your days so you know exactly what you want to be doing on any given day at any given time. Do certain things on the same day every week. Like what day will be wash day? What day or time do you make your phone calls and touch base with loved ones? What day do you do your nails or take your kids to the library? Don't leave things to chance or tell yourself you'll do it sometime. Set a day and set a time. If your plans need to be adjusted, that's absolutely fine. Life happens, but have a game plan to begin with. Reinvention tip number 5 is to check in with yourself regularly. Businesses do things in quarters. You have your Q1, 2, 3, and 4. When we're younger, schools give progress reports and quarterly report cards so you know how you're doing and you can save your final grade if you need to. If you think about it, it's a little bonkers to make all these grand resolutions for the entire year in January and not really check in until the end of the year. Because what can you do about it at that point? Nothing really, because the year is over and you end up having to make the same resolution again the following year. And really, if you have to make the same resolutions every year, is that system really working for you? So a great habit to pick up to truly reinvent yourself is to not only plan and schedule, but to check in with yourself much more regularly. I personally like macro quarterly goals, mid-level monthly goals, and micro weekly check-ins. This allows me to keep the big picture as well as the details in perspective. In that Feminine Beginnings video, we also talked about setting yearly goals, and I mentioned having or setting mandatory experiences for yourself, both major and minor. You can start doing that with an overview of the year and what you want to do, then narrow it down and assign them by quarter, by month, and by week. You can also do a daily checklist if that helps you stay on top of things. Reinvention tip number 6, have a refueling station. So often we are on go, go, go mode. We are trying to do more, we are trying to be more, and that's great. But there will inevitably be tough days on the journey. Days that are challenging, discouraging, disappointing, or just plain hard. And having a refueling station, something that picks you up when you are down and keeps you going, is a must. For me, my beliefs and spirituality are a huge source of refuel. In a world that sometimes tries to make people feel that they aren't enough for whatever reason, knowing that I am fearfully and wonderfully made lets all that noise roll right off my shoulders. Knowing that the creator of the universe says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, that refuels me. My family, immediate and extended, is another huge source of fuel. Somehow, sometimes they believe in me more than I believe in myself when it comes to what they believe I'm capable of doing. But yet, they also manage to keep me humble, grounded, and real no matter how far I get in life. And of course, provide unlimited love and laughs. So whatever does it for you, whether it's spirituality, prayer, family, good friends, meditation, therapy, music, or art, whatever picks you up and propels you forward, whatever it is that pours back into you when you're feeling empty, make sure you have that refueling station in your life. Reinvention tip number 7 is to reassess your environment. We've spoken about this and we will continue to, so I'm not going to drag it out here. But be very mindful of the people, places, habits, and content you allow into your life. Think about what happens if you hang out in a room full of smokers. Even if you don't smoke yourself, the smell gets all over you and you are affected by that secondhand smoke. So some people and habits are just going to have to go, and some might just need to be viewed as the rare junk food treats at the top of the food pyramid. If your environment is the problem, maybe you can't move immediately, but you can read books, and you can also buy headphones that will let you block out certain things and access certain podcasts and other content to elevate your mind outside of your current situation until your physical situation can follow. I also guarantee that there's at least 1 or 2 people in even the roughest places also trying to do better. Try to seek those people out as well. Reassess your environment and what you're taking in and adjust that in line with your vision. Reinvention tip number 8 is to find resources and accept help. Whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, from weight loss to financial goals or business creation, odds are someone has done it before and has documented it. So don't struggle out in the desert trying to figure it all out on your own or trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not saying you should be identical to anyone. No 2 journeys will ever be exactly the same anyway, and you'll always put your own spin on anything that you do. But you can find some basic information to get you started, to keep you motivated, and help you avoid some common mistakes and setbacks. You don't want to spend a year figuring out something you could have done in a month. So read the books, watch the videos, reach out to a mentor in your field, chat with the elders who have been there and done that in this game called life. Reinvention tip number 9 is to focus on consistency. Sometimes we hear be consistent as this throwaway line or this afterthought, but it might just be one of the single most important things on this list. There's a saying that hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And that's so true. Consistency is why sometimes the person who isn't the best or the smartest or the prettiest or whatever else is winning and the supposedly super talented person is losing. Even if you're not doing something perfectly, if you keep at it, you're still likely to get some pretty awesome results. So for some people listening, you may not really need to add anything. What you need is to actually stick with something. You might not need another skincare routine or diet regimen. You might just need to actually stick with the one you have for an effective amount of time. Get consistent, stay consistent, then you can continue to optimize and perfect your systems. And lastly, reinvention tip number 10 is to appreciate the journey. Sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination. We've heard this and it's so true. The journey can be filled with fun and excitement and lessons of its own. And even when it's not fun, which sometimes it won't be, the journey will provide you with the preparation, skills, and foundation that you will need for the next level. I sometimes call this the shepherd season, because sometimes before you can lead the people, you have to learn to lead the sheep. Before reaching levels of royalty and nobility, you have to come to deeply understand humility. Some people want to jump from level 1 to level 10, but there's a big difference between wanting something and being ready for something. Imagine being in first grade and wanting to jump to 10th. You wouldn't be ready and you would fail miserably in all aspects, academically, socially, athletically, and so on. So while you're on your journey, remember to assess not only what you want, but what you're ready for. If you want to date, that's great. Have you done the work to heal from any issues, trauma, or pain points that you have so that you don't attract toxicity or so that you don't end up mistreating a good man? You want a baby? Great. Can you provide them with reasonable stability in every area of life? You want a better job or higher status? That's great. Can you use basic computer programs and software or vocabulary and concepts that are considered basic for that level so that you're not ruining projects, blowing deals, or losing the company money? Now, I'm not saying that we have to be perfect before ever advancing. Honey, sometimes we'll have to do it scared and unprepared. But what I am saying is, if you are in a situation that is teaching you and preparing you for your next chapter, make sure you're learning the lessons now so you don't have to repeat the lesson later. Appreciate your unique journey, whatever it may look like. And those are my top 10 tips for practical, actionable self-reinvention. I said this in my first video ever, an incredible life is usually not about one huge change or one huge moment, but rather it's about creating several small productive changes and habits and being consistent with those until it just becomes part of who you are. That's how reinvention happens. Certain changes might feel small, but day by day it adds up, and 60 days, 90 days, and certainly 365 days later, you can be giggling, asking yourself, who am I? How did I become so awesome? That's what I want for us. So cheers to health, growth, reinvention, happiness, and love. Cheers to being impressed with ourselves. Cheers to an incredible year. Until next time, ladies, stay feminine, stay focused, and have fun.